I saw Lords of Salem last night.
You did?
Yeah, I saw the screener of it. They sent it to me so I could see it.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, it hasn't made its way around here yet. I mean, I know it comes out the 19th, but I didn't get to South by Southwest when it was here, so I hadn't got to see it until last night.
And what did you enjoy it?
It was, yeah, I have to say that it was probably Rob's most. I'm trying to think. It was. You could tell.
I know it's hard to find the right words, especially right after you've seen it.
Right. It was definitely. I could tell that it was his movie. As far as like it was really his movie, like as a horror fan.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much 70s oriented.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the way it was shot. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. How do you get into the frame of mind of playing a character like that? I mean, that character was just like completely evil.
She was? Well, how do I get into it? You know, sometimes one doesn't know how that happens, but, and I'm not sure if I could even put it into words, but I didn't think of her as evil.
Okay, what did you think of her as?
Of what, dear?
What did you think of her as?
Of her ass?
No. What did you think of her? If you didn't think of her as evil, what did you think of her?
Oh, ass.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric, that's good.
But you can answer that question too if you want.
Yeah, I can. No. I couldn't see her ass. I couldn't see it. No, it was behind her. They didn't have rear view mirrors then.
Right.
Oh, how funny. You know, I had a telephone call with Rob before he invited me to be a part of Lords of Salem. And I was raised in New England, and you know, it's so interesting with seasons, with the forests there, which I spent a lot of time in. And just, it sort of brought back to me when we were speaking about it, because I've been to Salem. You know, I've been to Concord. I went to school in Massachusetts. I know about the Salem witch trials. It's something that you sort of, you know, in certain areas, you know, where you grow up, you learn the history of that area.
Right.
And so basically, or whatever, I don't really know, but memories just came back to me, and they actually were childhood memories. You know, Halloween in a small town in New England, it's really extraordinarily special, I guess, in memory. But, you know, you are out, and it could be winding, and it could be, you know, filled with wind, and there's sound, and there's lights, and there's candles, and it's safe. But the environment might not feel safe because it is Halloween night.
Right.
You know? Anyway, but I just sort of, you know, I don't know. I just, Rob, here's the other thing that I could say is that Rob gives and allows and holds so much space for the actors that he works with.
Right.
And it's a gift, because there is time sort of goes away. There's not a sense of pressure. There's just time to even when you're in the moment of, you know, and you're filming, there's an expanse of safe space. And that process allowed me an extreme amount of comfort. And it was the sets were created so beautifully, you know. So I don't know. I just let it go. Just whatever was there, I let it go. I really didn't plan anything. I just tried to be in the moment.
Okay. So
That's how I'd say it.
So the approach, you didn't approach the character as being evil. You approached her as being misunderstood or being...
No. I mean, I knew she needed to be. I approached her as, I guess, being a witch.
Okay.
But I don't know. I thought about the words, and not a lot. The beautiful thing is that not a lot of the words that Margaret Morgan had stayed in the editing, which is wonderful because it becomes visual, and I do believe that it's so interesting. When something is subtracted, it becomes more powerful.
Right.
You know, and so I think that's wonderful. But I don't. I just rooted my feet in New England. I don't know what to say.
Okay.
You know? And well, for instance, memories came back to me of, for instance, my first nightmare. You know, I mean, because I guess it's because living in New England, and that Rob was from New England, and that Sherry Moon is from New England. So there was this, I felt very familial with the land and with the history, and so the fact, to a degree, that they are both New Englanders, and I was too, it sort of opened up so much for me, just in that environment and the history of witch trials. And if one is a witch, one is good and one is bad, you know?
Right.
I mean, when I saw Sherry Moon at the end of the hallway, do you remember that?
Yeah.
That scene? Yeah. Because the perspective, which is definitely, you know, on screen, it felt the same way in that hallway.
Yep.
You know? In a very specific way, I thought of her as all womankind. I thought of her as womankind.
Sure.
It just sort of hit me, and it was like I needed her. Margaret Morgan needed her. She was going to give birth to a special child.
Right.
And so there was this bond between. I know Morgan felt the bond between, you know, herself and every other woman that was sacredly a witch.
Right.
And nothing would stop her from accomplishing. You know, there has to be sacrifice. There has to be sacrifice.
Right.
I mean, she sacrificed her life. She was burnt at the stake with the rest of the coven.
Right.
But I believe she knew where she was going. She knew what she had to do.
Right.
You know, she knew she would come back. She knew that this was the haunting and this is what would bring about the child. But the other extraordinary thing is that, as you know, there are so many layers to the film and to Sherry Moon's performance and her character of Heidi, which haunts me to this day. I'm still haunted by it. I saw the film in stitches, and you know, Eric, it's like a labyrinth. You know, we can say the 1970s, we can say, you know, Salem, we can say, you know, but the winding down, you know, the going down. As an audience, I followed Sherry all the way. And I really didn't know. I'm thinking, I'm a good audience. I don't go in with any preconception of anything.
Right.
You know, I just go in and attach myself to the story and the characters. And
It was.
I didn't know where I was half the time, but I was there. Do you know what I mean? It really was. I followed her fear and her vulnerability through, trying to be newly sober. The fact that what truly, she was just so vulnerable, and so trying to be present, whether she knew it or not. It was perfection. And Heidi's relationship with Herman Whitey, it was the tenderest thing I've ever seen, I think, because there's nothing more lovely or haunting as well as two people that truly care about themselves, but the timing is all wrong.
Right.
And yet they are there for each other constantly on so many levels, work level, personal level. There is an understanding of the soul there. And all the way through the film, I just kept thinking that Jeff was holding her hand, that Whitey was holding Heidi's hand.
Right.
And that was, as friends do,
Yep.
As friends do, there was that bond. And it broke my heart. It was so lovely. And when Sherry turns, and disappears inside the door, and just turns around and says, bye. Well, there we go,
Right.
I loved the film. I felt that I was in a labyrinth, and I turned every corner with Sherry, and I turned every corner with Jeff, and I followed every one of the witches. I followed, Dee and Judy, and Trisha, and everybody had their turns. It was, they turned and it would be in the wrong place. It was just, the whole thing haunted me. What can I say? And the photography was extraordinary.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know if I was seeing, to me it was real, to me it was a nightmare, to me it was my nightmare. I mean, it was like a nightmare, and I felt like a child.
Now, yeah, I thought that Sherry did a really good job, and what's weird
Wasn't
is
she wonderful?
She was great.
So wonderful, so wonderful.
Well, it reminded me, it almost seemed like she was like channeling like a grown-up version of Reagan or her mother from The Exorcist. She had that same kind of like mannerism, and the way she talked was like really gentle and everything.
Yeah. I thought she was, I really thought she was wonderful.
Now,
I really thought she was wonderful.
Where was the film shot?
Interiors were done here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
See, I was in it for a very, very small amount of time, really.
Right.
All my work was here with at Lacey Street Studios, and then we filmed out in what's called Canyon Country, was where the hovel was, which so beautiful. But that's where I filmed, and most of the interiors, I believe, were shot there. And then a company of actors, Judy Geeson and Patricia Quinn and Dee Wallace and Sherry Moon and Jeff and Bruce Davidson, I believe, maybe a few other actors. I'm not sure. They all went to Salem with the crew.
Okay, so the exteriors were actually in Salem.
Yes, they were.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. The only ones that probably weren't were the ones at the hovel, the witch's hovel, which was here in California.
Okay, so that apartment building, that's actually in Salem?
Yes, the one you see on the screen. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
The interior.
Right.
Wasn't it? It really was. I mean, seeing, Sherry and her, or Heidi and her dog walking in the morning.
Yeah, it was.
I loved the pace of the film because for me as an audience, right when I thought not even thought, but and this is in retrospect, I mean, I followed Sherry's character so closely and so affectionately, and I was so frightened, but frightened in the sense of disturbed. Frightened in the sense of I wanted this person to be all right, and I didn't know if it was a nightmare or if it was, the drugs, and or if it was true.
Right.
And then I just accepted it all. And it really can be any of them. And all of them at once. There's a lot of duality, just like there is within a labyrinth. That's why I use the word labyrinth.
Right.
Because everything exists in the labyrinth.
Yep.
It's a spiral, and the only thing about the labyrinth that's amazing is that the way you go in, so for instance, at the beginning of the film and entering the labyrinth, you never come out the same way. So at the end of the film, when we see Heidi, with her dog, and they say that, she wasn't heard from again.
Right.
There's this eternal, she could still be in the labyrinth as far as I'm concerned and popped out on the other side of the world. I don't know. Do you know what
Yeah.
the labyrinth, my experience is very labyrinth-esque.
Right.
As it was when I saw the film, because I really followed everybody and had no idea who was going to turn where. I was down there with them.
Now, in the film, there's a lot of... I'm going to use the term. There's a lot of prayers and a lot of chanting.
Prayers, did you say?
Yeah,
prayers?
I mean chanting or like talking or bringing Satan on, I guess you would say. What?
Incantations.
Thank you. That's a good. Thank you. Yes.
That's a good word, isn't it? Let's say it together.
Incantations. That's right.
Yeah.
When you did that, because in the movie when they do it, it's very, very unnerving and unsettling.
When they do it, meaning who? The witches from 1692 or the present day witches?
Well, both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them in their own right, because it's like one of them, you're looking at these like normal women, like, middle-aged women. and they're
Go ahead. Old broads. Go ahead and say it.
Well, and they're broads. Dee and them, they're in these normal clothes and these normal atmospheres, and they're chanting or they're doing incantations.
It's frightening.
Yeah, it's disturbing, and then obviously what you're doing in your time period part is as well because of the surroundings there as well. But was there a feeling like that, or was it for you? Was it just you were just reciting dialogue?
Well, we're talking about the incantations.
Yeah, just like
right?
all the.
Okay. Well. Well, I call it talking in tongues, which is what the ladies, the witches coven did in 16. I knew what I was saying.
Right.
I knew what I was saying. Women are formidable. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever. I like that the women are the powerful ones in this. Be they the witches, especially Heidi, and I mean there's something very set, female, powerful. But yeah.
I mean, was it just...
It's spooky. It's spooky.
Right.
No ands or buts about it. Because there's commitment. I mean, the Dee and Patricia and Judy, they were acting as one.
Sure.
I mean, that's the wonderful thing. We saw them, in the apartment complex, gosh, they frightened me.
Well, the reason I'm asking...
As an audience, because I didn't see anything. Until I saw the film, I only was a part of what I was doing.
Right.
So I had no idea, but they frightened me. So.
Well, the reason I was asking that question is I'm religious myself, and when I was watching it and they were like incantating or whatever the right word is, praying to Satan and stuff, I was like, it was disturbing to me.
Well, the thing about this, I agree with you, honey. But I do. It frightened me when I saw it on the film. But in reality, and here's something else though about incantation or prayer.
Right.
We can pray to God. We can pray to a goddess. We can pray to a saint.
Sure.
Prayer is very, very, very powerful. And so when we see an incantation, i.e., Satan.
All right.
That's powerful too.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's
yeah.
What...
So, but it's even. I mean, some people have mantras that they do. Some religions
sure.
Religions or faiths have mantras. Anything with intention is powerful.
Right. Yeah.
I agree with you.
And yeah, that's what I was just wondering, like, how you felt. Like, did you feel like, whoa, man, this is weird, this is scary, when you're like doing stuff like that, or was it just kind of like?
No, I didn't feel frightened.
It was just a job. I didn't. I mean, I don't want to say just a job.
No, it wasn't just a job.
Right.
But how do I? But if you're in the moment of being and bringing life to the words, the character, inside, from the inside out.
Right.
You tend to, go places that are correct on the creative level.
Right.
And they happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't personally in doing it frightened.
Yeah. Okay.
I felt exhilarated because I thought, yes, stop. There you go.
Right, you put yourself.
Make sense, honey?
Yeah, absolutely, you put yourself into the character, definitely.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'm curious, what is in the scenes with you? What is you, and what is a body cast or such? Is that you in the movie? Like, because there's.
Yes, that's me.
Okay, yes. That's what I was wondering. I didn't know whether.
No, I was without clothes.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out.
We filmed with some things with and without clothes. You know what I mean? So that there were choices. Yeah,
I just didn't. Well, right. Yeah, also because of press stuff. Because I saw a press picture of you with like some kind of fur around you or something.
Oh, fur?
Yeah, there's like a press.
Yeah, there's this incredible coat. I called it my buffalo.
Okay.
Because yes, the costumes on the witches were extraordinary. Okay. I mean, on the 1692 witches, the period.
Right.
They had I had a wolf shoulder, a wolf skin, and some of the ladies had like there were bones. There was wonderful. Like a deer bone. Talismans.
Right.
It was very the makeup and hair and the special effects and the wardrobe department. They helped create everything because it really gave all the witches in the coven, 1692, an incredible sense of being there.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what I was trying to figure out because I kept looking. When I was watching the movie, I was like, "Is that her, or is that some? Is it CGI?" Because I couldn't really.
You mean with the fur, honey, or without the clothes?
Without clothes.
Yes. No. We all the witches took off their clothes and danced around the fire.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I was right. Well, yeah, I was talking about like when you're in the hallway and when you're on the when you're standing in the kitchen, like on the.
Oh yes. No, I was painted. In the kitchen, my whole body was painted.
Okay. Yeah, because
that's what you wanted to know.
Yes.
There you go. Yes, honey. Yes. In the kitchen, it was like burns.
Okay.
To look singed.
Right.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure what you were asking.
Yeah, no. And that's what I kind of figured that. I kind of figured that because I was like looking and I was like, that it looks like
it doesn't look like skin.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. And then around the fire, that was skin before we got burnt.
Sure.
Before we were.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
In closing, like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time. In closing, I already took 30 minutes.
That's okay, Eric. It's all right.
In closing, what do you think he's trying to say with the movie? And I'm asking you, I don't want this typical answer that I get a lot of times, well, what do you think it's trying to say? What do you feel like he's trying to say with the movie? Is he trying to say anything? Or is it just...
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what there's so many levels on this in this film.
What's it saying to you?
To me, as an audience, okay, now I'm going to take a moment. I have to take a moment. How can I sum up anything about this? Because I think that it's...
when you walked away from it, what did you think?
Well, I thought that I truly thought that... The other thing is that, our sections, the 1692 sections of the film, were done all by themselves. I had no idea what was, going to occur in the rest of the film, because things change, although I'd read the script, Rob is, he allows things to change, in the moment. And that's extraordinary. His film, it's his writing, and he can make any picture he wants to make, and he's so generous. And he's constantly, he's present on every level. He's a musician, he's a writer, he's a director. Everything about him is creative. And the process doesn't stop. It's like he was painting pictures. Painting. But what did I don't know about trying. Trying isn't a word that I understand.
Let's put it this way. When you left the theater after seeing the screening, for the first time, what did you take away from it?
I took away that I wanted to see it again, and again, and again. Right. Because I went with it on so many levels. And I felt that I had re-entered a labyrinth. I'm not a critic. So I don't know how to give a review. I loved the film. I think it's brilliant. I think that it's going to be seen for forever. It should be, and I think that most people will want to see it again and again, because it takes you, like me, so many different places. It really, really did.
It's most definitely timeless. I can tell you that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that's why I keep using the word labyrinth, because, as I say, when you enter the labyrinth, you go through it and you attempt to find your way out, obviously.
Right.
Labyrinths have been around, and in every culture. The Kora, which is the circles,
Sure.
The circles, they've been, they're ancient. They're on the walls of caves. They are, in the Native American history, they are called the man and the maid, where you go down and you come up to help the people. And one of their gods in the Hopi culture lives in the center of the maze, and he comes up and people meet him. And it is called the underworld.
Right.
In many cases. And darkness is not bad. You see, that's what I felt about the film. Yes, it dealt with semi-dark things, but the whole film was a light to me. It was a light.
Right.
Makes sense, even though I found it, disturbing. It was a light, because I just kept going. I'm not going to use the word surreal, but to a degree it was for me, you know?
Right.
But I'll just go back to the word labyrinth.
Right.
You know, I really, because the only way one can exit the labyrinth, you have to find a whole new way.
Right.
And it will change every time. And that's what I felt like. I felt like going into the labyrinth, I'd come up, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get out, and I did. And then I was back down in it again with another character, or another image took me there again. The images took me places that had not necessarily anything to do with the film.
Right.
You know? I think you can understand that, can't you?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, it's true. I mean, as I said, when I spoke with Rob on the phone that one time before he invited me to do it, I began having memories from childhood. I remembered my first nightmare, and that meant something to me. So, Lords of Salem took me many places, and I got to rediscover things. And then when I saw the film, I rediscovered more, and things I don't have answers for. But I will see it again, again, again. And I do feel that it is time.
Now, in closing, I just wanted to say to you that it's funny that you describe your part in the movie as a small part, because in my opinion,
I mean,
yeah, I know what you're saying. You're talking about like in shooting time and such, but it's funny because in my opinion, you're probably the, and I'm nothing against Sherry because Sherry's like the main character, but all I remember is you. Because of your
by small I don't mean tiny. I mean in time wise.
Right.
You know, there's no small parts. Basically, there's no small parts. There's no small actor.
Right.
You can quote me on that.
Yes.
But what I was saying, what I was trying to explain to you was that that's the only time in the film I was.
Right.
Which gave me sort of a minimum amount of experience, but I experienced a lot in that time. And so when I saw the film, you know, it was extraordinary because I got to see the whole film. But I'm glad that I'm just so very grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with Rob Zombie.
Yep. Well, I
am eternally grateful. He's an extraordinary person and an extraordinary director and writer and musician.
Well,
and I hope that and I think that I feel Sherry Moon was absolutely perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just I think that your character in the film is probably.
Well, she's a little weird, you know. She's meant to be a little incantacious, wasn't she?
Yes.
Wasn't she?
Yes, definitely. But your character, I believe, is going to be the one that people walk away remembering.
It's so sweet because when I saw it, you know,
yeah,
I didn't really pay attention to me. I mean, I didn't. It was sort of like, okay, I know that part.
Right.
It's so, you know, but truthfully, and this is truth. With the Coven ladies, the ladies of the Coven, you know, without the incredible makeup that was done for us, the extraordinary costume, the extraordinary environments that were created by the set designer. They made it real for us.
Right.
And it was the whole. We were a part of it. We got to step into it. And without their artistry and their expertise and their hearts that went into everything that they did, the Coven wouldn't, the 1692 Coven performances or just us being there.
Right.
It was It was brilliant. They gave us everything. They cloaked us. They dressed us. We had the word. We had these wonderful little raw slippers on our feet. Do you know? I mean, everything was so
right.
And everything smelt and felt in a certain fashion. And the hovel was the most beautiful, beautiful set I've ever been on. And I don't know if you could really see it, but it was magic. It was just magical.
You can't forget the bloody, kooky little baby either.
The what, darling?
The bloody, kooky little baby.
Yeah, that little baby. I know.
Well, hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Eric, thank you very much. I hope I was clear enough.